And we're live.
Aloha snack bar, everyone. It's the one, the only, the real majestic ape, the Megillah of monetary mayhem, the Senor Silverback that hangs out in the forests and jungles of the rogue moneyland. I am joined with none other than the master of the flux capacitor, the maven of the airways, the sidekick and partner extraordinaire, CJ. And we break it down, the news, the views, the information that's important to you on Rogue Money Mornings with V and CJ. You can follow us on Twitter at The Rogue Money. Check us out on Facebook, Rogue Money, as well as RogueMoney.net. With that being said, guys, you can also check out our sponsors. If you need help with debt, you are running scared because the collectors are coming to get you, and you need help kicking the collectors and the bankers in the nuts. Check out myfreedomnow.us, myfreedomnow.us. Go there, book a call, and they will call you. Heck, I might even call you. With that being said, CJ, what's crack-a-lackin'?
Hey, I was ready for you, V. I was ready. I was on it.
I know you are, dude. I mean, you were like on point, dude. I don't know what happened. My alarm did not go off, so I apologize for the lateness, everyone. I had went to sleep very, 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 very late, and I set my alarm. I just can't rely on smartphones and alarms anymore. I just can't. I'm going to go out and buy an old-fashioned alarm clock. That's what I'm going to do.
The one with the bells at the top to sit there and you hand crank it. There's not even a battery in it.
Exactly. You hand crank it. That's the one I'm going to get because it seems to work and it's reliable and it makes the most obnoxious sound ever. Anyway, let's get into this thing, man. It's 420, bro.
It is 420.
What the hell is the origin of 420? Why everybody gets high on 420 or talks about weed? I mean, what is that?
Everyone keeps talking about it, and I had friends were like, "What's 420? What's it about?" And so 420 is basically officially became Weed Day. And this all started, there's lots of theories out there. At one time, people thought it was the actual penal code in California for crime when they catch people with marijuana. But that's not the case. The 420 radio code for LA and LAPD is more for juvenile disturbance. So that's not it. There's also a legend V regarding a Bob Dylan song that he specifically talks about, getting high and women, and the number 12 and 35 is alluded to it. And in that song, he says everyone gets stoned. And somehow when they figure they multiply 12 by 35, it equals 420.
Huh.
And the other one, which probably more sounds like where it originated from, was back in the 70s. There was an actual school, Raphael High School in Marin County, California, and they called themselves the Waldos. And apparently, that their trigger time was always 420 to get together. And when their parents weren't home from school yet, but they were home, that these friends would get together and smoke weed. So essentially, that's
what was like. It was like synchronized watches, like
yeah, 420.
Dude, that's like synchronized watches, like Parker Hauser. You can't lose. By Parker Lewis. Remember that show back in the days?
Right. Yes.
Synchronized the watches. And so at 420, they all went out and got high. That was like their time to get high. That's hilarious.
However, though, more on a serious note, the amount of guests that we've had on, that it seems like everyone has that same type of messaging. And that Canada is getting ready for a national legalization bill that's getting ready to pass. So there's tons of opportunity right now in terms of stocks, investments right now in that particular industry. And a lot of our guests, including Jim Rogers, alluded to that. So it's definitely something we're going to see as far as an industry just exploding. As long as the government doesn't do anything to get in the way, it's going to explode over the next several years.
Dude, it's going to be tremendous. I think it's going to be I mean, whoever's into the marijuana business right now, they're like the guys back on in the 80s. Guys like Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak and Bill Gates, who are just like the pirates of the Silicon Valley. You're going to be the first in. You're going to make a killing. You do it right, you're going to make a killing. It's going to happen. I just know it. I just sense it. And with that being said, CJ, let's talk about some 4D or 5D chess or checkers or 1D Connect 4, which I'm calling it. What's going on with Trump now?
Well, Sean from SGT, our buddy, put out a great video last night, and we had a little bit of leeway time as far as seeing this come out. as far as who Trump surrounds himself as advisors. One of his campaign stumps the entire time was talking about specifically how bad the Paris deal was for America. Talk about how bad it was for the industry, the coal miners, just primarily because it put these real strict policies, and it's primarily a UN Agenda 2030 to reduce carbon emissions to zero, and these are agreements that really aren't in the best interest of Americans. And on the stump several times, Trump specifically stated that he was going to back out of that agreement that Barack Obama had entered. Now, there's a lot of noise coming out there. There's a great article out there in Breitbart that are specifically stating, because of the liberal agenda of Jared Kushner and Ivanka, that they are swaying him to stay in the Paris Agreement.
Yeah. Well, let's look at who's ushering him along on the Paris Agreement, right? Who's ushering him? Well, it's Gary Cohn, which I told you about, is Satan incarnate. Former head of Goldman Sachs. This is the guy who kept everybody locked up inside inside the Goldman Sachs building while 9/11 attacks were happening, and told everybody to go trade airline stocks. That's Gary Cohn. He's a dirtbag. George David Banks. He's another douche. Okay, another bankster elite with a name like Banks. It had to happen. His last name is Banks. His last name gives it away, CJ, what he does. Then we have, of course, we also have J. Crew War Collection himself, the Kush. The Kush is pushing him. Okay, and then Rex Tillerson. Okay, now why is Rex Tillerson pushing it? Well, simple. The only ones who stand to benefit from any sort of quote-unquote crackdown on carbon emissions and this, that, and the other is big oil and is Wall Street. Why? Well, Wall Street benefits because of the carbon credits that could be traded, okay? And carbon and credit exchanges that they want to set up. They will make a fortune. That is the next big bubble they want to blow, because they've blown every single asset bubble on the planet. There's nothing left to blow. The only thing they have left is a stupid carbon scheme, which they can make hundreds of trillions of dollars on. Hundreds of trillions of dollars. Okay. Now, with that being said, why does Rex Tillerson from Big Oil, why does he want it? Well, simple. It creates more of an artificial scarcity to oil, and it puts out their competitors, which would be coal, which would be any sort of other energies, which could be very useful. Okay. Electricity. Let me get this straight to all you hybrid car driving. I'm not going to call you guys morons, but all you hybrid car driving people out there, the guys that like to drive Teslas thinking you're saving the environment, it takes more barrels of oil to make a Tesla than it does to make a Mercedes S-Class. Okay? It takes more barrels of oil to make a Tesla than a Mercedes S-Class. So take that one for you. So when you create artificial scarcity, you put out your competitors, and what you're doing is you're creating, again, cartelism. Cartelism. That's what we have here. We don't have capitalism. We don't have any. We have cartelism. Okay, and that's why this is so dangerous. That's why Bannon, as soon as the Trump White House started, he ripped the whole climate change from the White House's website. This is, again, agreeing to it. This is a disaster. This is an economic killer. You can forget about economics if this is today's end.
Very well said. Very well said. A lot of the the other aspect, regarding it, is in particular, is talking about the entire, global warming, the entire, and all about renewable energies. I'm all about, conserving. However, in terms of Mother Nature's and solar cycles and sun cycles, not only that, but a lot of the reporting, a lot of the climate change people that have come out with these reports have just been shown that they've been falsified. I mean, it's just bad information leading to these decisions time and time again.
It's pure horseshit. The main goal of the IPCC, the International Panel of Climate Change, their number one goal is the same goal of, let's say, what if I told you the goal of the IPCC is the same goal of the United Teachers Foundation, the union, the teachers union. Okay. What if I told you the United States Teachers Union and the IPCC has the same goal, even though they're two completely different things? If you look at the last, I think a couple of years ago, the teachers union had a huge rally in Madison Square Garden. And the head of the teachers union says, we don't care about students. We care about staying in business. Shocking. It was shocking for most people, but it wasn't shocking for me. Why? Because it is the desire of every bureaucracy to stay viable, to stay in existence. Okay, so it's the same thing with the IPCC. IPCC, dude, climate, quote unquote, first global warming. Now it's climate change. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry that tens of thousands of jobs are dependent upon. Their goal right now is to stay in existence. So they're gonna, of course, they're gonna fudge the numbers. I mean, think about it. Anybody who says we have a 97%, consensus that global warming is happening, climate change is real, that's a bunch of bullshit. If anybody told me that there's a 99% consensus on this, you need to run the other direction. I would call bullshit on that. You know why? Where in the world, CJ? Show me in what scientific area or anything, any field of high technology or engineering where there's a 99% consensus on anything. Doesn't exist.
Nowhere.
Doesn't exist. But over here in climate change, there's a 99% consensus. You guys are lying. You've been caught lying. You've been caught, hide the decline, fudge the numbers, do whatever it takes. Why? Because there's billions upon hundreds of billions of dollars in stake and tens of thousands of jobs. Now you're not only are you a falsified industry, you're a bureaucracy that needs to exist now, and that's the end of the deal, man. Disgusting, bro.
It is disgusting, and wait till you get your electric bill and there's an additional 15% tax on it.
Dude, I'm already sick of paying my electric bill. I'm protesting them.
Because this carbon tax is right around the credit. They get this thing to go through. Where do you think the government's going to pay for this? To that Paris Treaty, the amount of money that has to be paid in that. What do you think the government's just going to come up with that money in thin air? No, that's going to come right back to the American taxpayer.
We're going to get hit with VAT taxes over here, value-added taxes. Okay, you want to go buy an iPhone? Okay, fine. Go buy an iPhone. iPhone 8's coming out in September. You're lining up to get the iPhone 8 256 gigabyte model. It's going to cost you $900, but now you have a VAT tax of 15% on top of that, and now you're paying like over $1,000 something dollars. Okay, so you're paying the sales tax and then the VAT tax, and now because the VAT tax is going for your carbon emissions. I mean, and then you get carbon penalties if you're going around if your heating bill is over certain BTUs per month. This is the type of bullshit control freak world that we're heading to. And if this thing passes, I am exit stage left, CJ. I just can't do it no more, bro. I can't live in bullshit. I just can't.
I can't either. And the millions that we spend on these cloud seeding programs, some people say, oh yeah, they're the chemtrails and all that, but there's Harvard just produced it talking about how the cloud seeding program and their whole theory around the whole cloud seeding and blocking the sun from warming the climate is completely ass backwards. It's putting down these chemicals on us, and it is a known fact. I'm not no perfectionist or climate specialist or anything, but from the reports that I've seen is that it's actually having an opposite approach, impact towards the environment. That when they are doing these artificial clouds or blocking the sun, it's actually keeping the sun rays up in the upper atmosphere that are actually creating more damage and warming the earth. It's actually having the opposite effect of what these idiots think that they're doing. They're spending millions of dollars to do it, V.
Exactly, man. It's absolutely ridiculous, bro. Now, since we're on the energy thing, let's talk about the energy nut jobs in the Middle East themselves, which are the Saudi Arabians, the outhouse of Saud.
So it looks like finally what's coming out as far as why the U.S. is re-engaging the Saudi regime in terms of the war in Yemen, in terms of possibly even the recent missile strike in Syria, V, as it comes to turn out that the Saudis have recently paid $200 billion to the United States to support the war in Yemen.
Yeah.
So basically, they're paying this in the form of low profit U.S. Treasury bonds to help the U.S. economy.
Mm-hmm. It's absolutely ridiculous, and here's the thing: Saudi Arabia bribing the U.S. into a Yemen war is going to be a boondoggle. This is a failed war. I mean, it's just creating more and more problems, CJ. More and more problems. How is this any of this our problem? How is this, our issue? Again, the empire is going to fall. And I've said this before. We are entering a multipolar world with or without the United States.
Yeah, and this article goes on to state that this report, was alleged as far as I'm looking at the financial ties specifically, with it. This part of a huge amounts of money the Saudi Arabia's pay for U.S. treasuries for protecting its crown, which that they have done for several years, and hence why we continue to just sell them weapons and protect the Saudis.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely, dude.
And the last thing, V, that I'd like to discuss is this whole narrative. I'm not sure if you've seen on the news regarding Mike Pence and acting like the tough guy, standing at the demilitarized zone, the South Korea, talking about that the U.S. sword is ready, to act, in the
U.S. sword. Is that the same sword that lost the aircraft carrier? Told the aircraft carrier to go in one direction, the aircraft carrier went in another direction? Are we talking about the same sword?
That's the sword, yes.
I mean, there's a sword, but it ain't hanging over North Korea. It's hanging over us. It's called the Sword of Damocles. That's what's hanging over us, my man. And if we don't get our shit together, if we don't get our act together in the next couple of months, we're going to be in it.
Right. And no matter how you war game this with the whole North-South thing, there's no, all options are bad. There's no good scenario that puts us in a winning situation. How about this theory, V? How about this theory that if the U.S. stops bombing so many countries, if we stop intervening in all these regime changes, perhaps maybe countries wouldn't be at such a hurry to develop nuclear programs to defend themselves. How about that theory, V?
Exactly. All this is doing, what the U.S. is doing with their aggression is telling the rest of the countries of the world, I need to start developing nuclear weapons, A, or B, I need to get under the nuclear umbrella of the Chinese and the Russians ASAP. That's all it's doing. The U.S. is ushering the end of itself. They are ushering and speeding up and accelerating the birth of the multipolar world. That's all they're doing. This is what this idiotic, moronic strategy does. We're not winning through business. We're not winning with deals. I'm a deal maker. I make tremendous deals. They're huge, huge deals. I have guys out there that are real killers. The wonderful deal makers is tremendous. Tremendous, CJ. It's tremendous. That's what we're supposed to be doing, is making deals. But instead of making deals, we're doing threats. We're doing this. We're doing that. We're flip-flopping on all sorts of job-killing situation. I'm telling you right now, if this Paris Accord is signed on to, then you know what? I mean, where do I begin, CJ? Where do I begin, bro? Okay? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Plan B. I think it all falls back to when because people keep analyzing, why Trump is flipping and why all this is happening. This guy, I think, is just fixated on popularity. To me, he's fixated on approval ratings, fixated on making everyone happy. I mean, think about it this way. Think back whenever he left the Apprentice show.
He's got to make Princess Ivanka happy.
Right.
And the Kush, you don't want to get. I mean, the Kush is a genius. Forget the fact the kid, George Soros got Kush by the balls with $250 million. Got Kush by the balls, and forget that. Kush is also a Middle Eastern expert. Did you know that, CJ?
Oh, yeah.
He's a Middle Eastern expert at 36 years of age. He's a Middle Eastern expert. He knows Arabic. He knows Hebrew. He knows Farsi. He's been a CIA strategist his entire life. Unbeknownst to us, he's a foreign policy expert, this guy, Kush. That's right.
Amazing.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's like, please love me. I need to do tremendous things. The approval numbers on The Apprentice was down.
Arnold took over, and look what happened. The show's going off the air now because I was making the show. But anyway, I honestly think that we're leading to a one
Look, man.
done scenario with him.
I personally like Arnold, so I thought that was a bit of a cheap shot, personally. Because let me tell you something, I mean, six times, CJ, Mr. Olympia, and I did it. I've worked out really hard in the gym, and I was pumping myself up everywhere I go. I was pumping myself up everywhere. I was walking in my business suit, going into the office of the apprentice, and I was lifting a dumbbell. And then when I got to the stage, I was doing more lifting and more pumping. That's what I'm doing. So I don't appreciate him texting out and tweeting that the ratings are down with the apprentice. I don't like it.
Awesome.
Yeah, anyway, dude, I guess that's the end of the show,
bro. That's it.
We got Harley coming on, so get ready for that.
Always fun, always exciting. I'm always glad. I always look forward to Thursday when Harley comes on because it always kind of relaxes me a little bit more.
Does. He walks me back from the edge. Absolutely. All right, brother.
That is it.
You got it, man. I'll see you guys soon. And folks, that's the end of the show. Check back with us for Hanging with Harley. With that being said, take it away, CJ.